So I don't think I've ever seen a PGA Tour pro who was at the top of their swing and went up right away. They go from where they are, they lower some amount, which we'll talk about why in a second, as they shallow the club. Now, the lowering component, right, and those are the two things. They lower as they shallow the club. Now, the how they lower, I think is important. That's really the point of what this video is about. Hey guys, so I want to let you know real quick about an awesome holiday special we're doing at CogornoGolf.com. We're actually doing over 50% off for the special of our yearly membership. Normally it costs $69 a month. You can get a whole year, 12 months of CogornoGolf.com, monthly swing evaluations, everything on the site for $395, over 50% off what you would pay for a full year. Now, this isn't going to last forever. We're only doing this for a limited time from December 15th through January 1st. So we're going to put a link in the description down below to CogornoGolf.com. I would love for you to check it out. Everything you need to take your game to the next level. This is the lowest price it's ever going to be. We probably won't ever do this again. I would love to see you there. Check out CogornoGolf.com. Grab this while you still can. We'll put the link down below. All right, guys, so let's talk about how the PGA Tour pros start their downswing. Now, specifically in this video, we're going to talk about the upper body movements that they do to start the downswing. There's really two key upper body parts in terms of body motion, and then one key motion with the club and the arms that they all do that I'd like to show you how you can put in your game as well. Let's just take a look at a couple of images where you can clearly see these motions I'm talking about. Then we'll come back and we'll talk more about it. Okay, so there we saw a couple of swings. We could honestly probably put like 100 little videos up like that, but just to give you 5 there, or 3, 4, 5, to show you what we're talking about. So there's 2 lines that I drew on each one of those videos. The first line obviously was down the club at the top, and that was to give us an indication of the direction the club would move to start their downswing. So how do these pros start down? Does the club just stay right on the same line it was on? Does it go more towards the target? Does it go away from the target? Right, that was part 1. And then the second part, I just drew the line on the top of their head. And that was to indicate from the top of the swing that there was some lowering going on. Do they go up? Do they go down? Do they stay the same? And what you saw from those couple, and what we would see if we did like the top 100, let's say PGA Tour players in the world, and we slow-moed each one and draw a line on the top of their head at the top of the backswing, draw a line on the shaft, and you would see 98, 99 out of 100, you would see the shaft do what it did in those videos. So when you saw those, what happened to the shaft? The shaft went back, right? So the shaft, the club head, went more away from the ball and away from the target to start the downswing, all of them. That was part 1 with the shaft. None of them had the shaft moving more towards the golf ball or steeper. They all had it moving away. We'll get back to that in a second. The second part with the head is they all lowered. So I don't think I've ever seen a PGA Tour pro who was at the top of their swing and went up right away. They go from where they are, they lower some amount, which we'll talk about why in a second, as they shallow the club. Now, the lowering component, right, and those are the two things. They lower as they shallow the club. Now the how they lower, I think is important. That's really the point of what this video is about. Now there's two pieces they add that creates the lowering, okay? So let's kind of work through. Maybe even you stand up and do this yourself as you're watching this. The first part of the lowering is what we would call forward bend, right, or flexion. So when I stand here like this, my body's bent over a certain amount. Typical, let's say an iron player from here, let's say I got a 7 iron, 8 iron in here, I'm probably bent over 35 to 40 degrees. So if this was 180, I'm bent over, 30, 40 degrees from here. So the more my chest goes down towards the ground, we would call that forward bend or flexion. Now as my chest goes down towards the ground and I bend over more, what happens to my head relative to an object in the distance? Does it lower or it gets higher? Obviously it lowers, right? Okay, so as I bend over more, my head lowers. One of the key things that those players do from the top of their swing as they start their downswing is they regain what we would call forward bend, which is the chest working down towards the ground. They regain forward bend. So when I start my swing, I'm bent over some amount. When I get to the top, they're actually adding some extension, which is their chest up. And then as they start down, they're regaining forward bend, chest down. Now they're not only doing that movement, they're also doing the second movement, which is just as key, which is right side bend or right side tilt. So if I stood up here like this and we drew a line on the top of my head and I did like a little right side oblique crunch or got my right shoulder closer to my hip, you'll also notice what happens to my head in the distance. Does it go up, stay the same distance, or get lower? Everybody together, hopefully, it gets lower, right? So I have two things that create the lowering in terms of my upper body. I've got increase in forward bend, chest down, and then I've got right side bend, right shoulder to the right hip. And what they're doing is they're blending those two pieces together to start the downswing. Now, to be fair for them, as they start their downswing with the lower body, their head's also lowering partially because their knees are reflexing. So some of that head going down is also because their legs are reflexing. This is an upper body video. Let's talk about these upper body pieces. So what you want to start to feel when you start your downswing, if you want this PGA Tour Pro look where you can cover the ball with your upper body, right? You ever hear that term, cover the ball? What does that mean? That means regaining flex, chest down towards the ground, right shoulder towards the ball. So if you take let's just say you stand up, take a club, just even one arm, go up to the top and feel your chest go down towards the ground. That's the flexing part. Your chest goes down, your head goes down and forward. That's the reflexing part. Now, feel your right shoulder go down to your hip. That's your side bend part. Now, if I would feel the chest go down as I'm doing that right shoulder, and try and blend those together. Chest down towards the ground, right shoulder to right hip. Chest down towards the ground, right shoulder to right hip. Now, what should be happening, without me even seeing it, is that shaft should be starting to lay behind me. From the motion of the side bend, that shaft should be going behind me. But if I look at these pieces independently, are you following me along with these pieces? Chest down, shoulder to the right. So if I start to swing a club, chest down, shoulder down, chest down, shoulder down, chest down, shoulder down. If I look at these pieces independently, they really offset each other. If I go to the top and I put my chest down and I cover it, watch what happens to the shaft. It steepens it, right? So as my chest goes down, that's something that steepens the shaft. But as I add right side bend, if I go up to the top and just add right side bend with no chest down, what does that do to the shaft? That shallows it. So this is like a +2, -2 type of thing, right? So the chest goes down, which steepens it, but the right shoulder goes to the right hip, which sort of evens it out. So that's the piece where I can keep my club perfectly on plane, chest down, right shoulder to my right hip. Looks like this. This would be like a Rory McIlroy type of look from the down the line angle. So the first thing I would be doing if I wanted to start my downswing like these players, learn how to cover the ball, hit the ball really solid with my irons, would be rehearsing those two things together. Obviously you want to videotape yourself, see which one you need more of, work with a coach, but I would feel both those things together. Chest down, shoulder to the hip, and start making some little swings here with this. So I'll just feel those two off the bat to get us started. Chest down, shoulder to the hip. Especially if you're someone who has a lot of early extension, then you need to exaggerate these pieces. Chest down, right shoulder to the hip. So the more and more, if you have seen yourself on video or you know your swing patterns, that you have your chest go up, right? So let's say you're a golfer who comes down and your chest goes up, right? Like mine, like an early extension pattern. You draw the line down the front of your head and your head goes off of it and your chest gets farther away from the ground. Well, then not only do you need to regain the flexing like normal and have a slight lowering, you need to feel as though you regain so much of the flexing, it's stupid. Like your chest and chin are gonna like touch the ground. You have to big time over exaggerate that piece and then throw in the shoulder being closer to the hip as you're doing that with the turning component. So chest down, right shoulder closer to my hip. Chest down, right shoulder closer to my hip. And that's the piece that I want to feel as I start down. Now, that, as you're going, needs to be combined with the shaft part, right? So we said those PGA Tour pros you saw, they did that with their body. They regained flexion, they regained right side bend, but also the shaft fell behind them. Now, the more that you do the right side bend part, the more the shaft's gonna fall behind you as a byproduct. But, especially if your normal swing has the shaft coming too far out over, just like if you early extend, you've gotta feel your chest way down. If your shaft comes normally out too far this way, you've gotta feel it a mile behind you, right? So if this is my ball target line like this, let's say this is my ball target line I'm hitting on, and we've done some of these in the past, 12 o'clock, see if I get this right, 1, 2, 3, will be my toe line, 4 o'clock, right? 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock down my toe line, here, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. That's about where you need to feel as though the shaft's coming in. So if I go to the top and I get the shaft down the target line, it's gotta feel like this part of the shaft, this upper part of the shaft and the club head, actually go behind me to the point where it's over that 4 o'clock, which is too far inside. Just like you need to feel the chest too far down if you don't do enough. And that would be the piece that I'm practicing. If I want to put these pieces in, especially if you have the common chest up. So let's say you have the opposites, right? A lot of players that I work with in the beginning, their arms get steep and then their body shallows it out. Their arms get steep, their body shallows it out. What PGA Tour pros do is the arms and hands and club get shallow, the body gets steep. So it's the exact opposite. Bad, arms steep, body shallows. Good, arms shallow, body steepens. That's kind of the whole video in like a 20-second little nutshell there. And so this here, I would use as an indicator when you're hitting at home. The hardest part in the beginning of this is gonna be finding low point, getting the club to hit the ground where you want first. But I'm telling you, get the gross motions right with video, get your chest working down, get your right shoulder feeling like it's going towards your hip as you're doing it. Of course, you're turning. And get the shaft feeling like it's falling behind you over the 4 o'clock position. And do that enough with video until you find neutral feels. So let's go ahead and do that. Chest down, right shoulder down, club behind me. Until you can find your neutral feels. So within those feels, right, obviously we're exaggerating to the point where we hit normal. And so what I would do is I'd record myself from down the line and use the same lines that I drew on those players. I'd go to the top of your backswing, draw a line down your head. I'd also draw a line down the front of your head. I would box the head in if I was gonna practice this, down the forehead and down the top, and draw a line on the shaft. And you wanna see your shaft falling away from the ball, and you really wanna see your head lowering from the top line, but staying on the front line. That's really the gold here. Lower from the top line, stay on the front line as this is falling back. And depending upon what you currently do, you're gonna need to feel different things to hit those checkpoints, but those are the checkpoints. Obviously, if you've got the club way behind you already, you're gonna need to feel it go in the opposite direction. For most of us who get too steep, you'll need to feel it falling behind. So I would practice that with video, with the 4 o'clock station, and understand you have to blend in that forward bend with the side bend to do that. That's how the PGA Tour pros start their downswing. 99 out of 100, that's how you should do it too. If you guys have any questions, always leave a comment down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video. Special thanks to the Don Law Golf Academy at Osprey Point in Boca for having us out. If you guys did like this video, do us a favor, click that like button down below, comment with what you thought about the video, click the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you like these YouTube style videos, we'll put another card on the screen with a similar YouTube video. If you'd like to check out cogornogolf.com, we'll put that logo on the screen. We'd love to see you there.